Hola! It's me. It's Darth Cobain 17 for October's comics review. And this was a really good month of comics because a lot of those G.I. Joe sub-series that were going on with Destro, Scarlet, those wrapped up. I got a lot of issues of that. And some other G.I. Joes, some Transformers, some Turtles. But the thing that grabbed me the most was a new... what do you call it? A crossover. A Turtles crossover with a series, once again, I did not see coming. The first issue of Turtles of Grayskull. Yes, they've crossed over He-Man with the Turtles. So the story behind this one is April and Splinter are in the lair, and April's like, Master, are you coming? Like, the boys are due to check in right now. So then they kind of make this call or something to them and like explain where they are. So they were up to the regular thing where they're trying to stop Shredder and all that stuff, and they found out that Shredder was dealing with an otherworldly demon named Skeletor. They were exchanging. Shredder and Krang were giving Skeletor mutagen in exchange for Shredder and Krang getting like some magical powers from Skeletor, sort of thing. So the Turtles were like, well, we got to stop you guys. So in the middle of a spell that Skeletor was helping Shredder with or something like that, the Turtles attacked and interrupted it and ended up in Eternia with all of the He-Man characters. So they joined up with... He-Man has gone missing in the when the Turtles arrive. Adam is nowhere to be found, and Man-at-Arms is talking about, we face the gravest danger ever. Skeletor has this substance with the mutagen, and he's causing all sorts of chaos with it. So they end up fighting. All the Turtles and the good guys from He-Man start fighting all the bad guys from He-Man, along with Shredder and Bebop and those guys. And this battle goes on, and I forget, the Sorceress? Yeah, I think that was her name. Is kind of watching over everything and kind of fretting about everything. And in the meantime, Renette, the time traveler from Turtles, shows up and says like, oh, I think I gotta stop this and go back or whatever. And we see a little brief cutscene before she shows up where Adam takes on mutagen and becomes like Nega He-Man sort of thing. He becomes this monstrous creature that has all this strength. Kind of like, I don't know, is that like a Hulk, Red Hulk sort of thing? Or Bruce Banner Hulk sort of thing? Whatever. But yeah, so she ends up time traveling to the Turtles, and they're now trapped in some sort of holding cell before they're trotted out into this arena somewhere in space, and we see like the Triceratons there witnessing this spectacle. So the Turtles get put into this arena, and right at the end of the issue, their opponent comes out of a gate inside this arena, and it's He-Man, the regular He-Man, not the mutant He-Man. So they're about to do battle with the guy they were initially coming to help in Eternia, right? So there's a really cool crossover. I really like the story. I was not a huge He-Man kid. There were so many other things I liked better than it, like Transformers, G.I. Joe, Robotech, Mask, the Turtles, like so many other cartoons. I liked He-Man, but it was just low on the list. It couldn't compete for my attention with all these other good shows, right? But I still liked He-Man, and this is a really cool crossover. And the best part of it, though, is the artwork. I really love the style that it's done in, and the whole thing was just a pleasure to read through, from start to finish. The only other Turtles action we see is issue number 2 of the ongoing series that they rebooted after issue 150 a couple months ago. So in the second issue, we see like these little cutscenes of Mikey doing all these crazy things, like surfing, taking on some sort of like kaiju, and then a bunch of other shit. And then it kind of morphs into a scene where he's on a movie set, squaring off with some enemies, and he accidentally hits a guy, and they stop shooting. He's like, I'm so sorry, and it's like, it's fine. So we find out that Mikey has become like a Hollywood action movie star sort of thing. So he's going through his life, and he's at a dinner party with some people that are trying to like woo him and wine and dine him sort of thing. And he starts reminiscing about how all this fame and fortune is kind of hollow. And while he's at this dinner party, he ruminates like I've had so many better dinners than this. And it comes up with a memory of him and his three brothers sitting on the floor in the lair, chowing down a pizza, right? So he's obviously not enjoying this life, and he misses his brother, sort of thing. So he goes to bed, or no, he orders a pizza or something like that, and is lying on his couch. And then he soon after gets attacked, and he realizes, at first he thinks it's like people trying to have a run at him because he's like an action star, but it ends up that the fight is real. These look like Foot Clan ninjas coming after him, but they drugged the pizza, so Mikey's all like fucking out of it and shit, and so he's struggling to keep up with these ninjas, and then he starts having these hallucinations that these ninjas are actually his brothers, and they're kind of like, what the fuck, right? And but eventually he snaps out of the poison, and after these visions and stuff, and then he starts taking it to the Foot Clan, and Raph suddenly shows up and is like, Mikey, I came as soon as I heard. I'm here to help. And Mikey turns around and slugs Raph right in the face, sort of thing. So there's obviously some sort of tension as to why Mikey maybe left the group and has this lifestyle now. And right at the end of the issue, we see Mikey like kind of like fucking Superman trying to Superman punch Raph right as the issue closes off. So we know that there's some tension, there's been some history, and I'm sure we are going to eventually find out why Mikey and Raph are at such odd terms. But how long will we have to wait? I can't take it. Man. All right, you know the formula. What's next? Transformers is next, and I got 2 issues. Issues 12 and issues 13 of the ongoing series. So these issues vary very greatly from each other. In the first issue, the action picks up right from where it left off, when the Autobots were attacking the Decepticons, as the Decepticons' Shockwave had finished that portal that was going to bring Cybertron to Earth, and they were going to suck all the energon out of Earth. And the Autobots attacked, and they brought Ultra Magnus after they revived him as their secret weapon, but then he saw Shockwave and was like, ah! And then he fucked off. So the Autobots were down their big secret weapon, right? So, and Devastator's there, and he's smashing things, but then suddenly Carly gets in her van, and she's like, I need to be a part of this, and then Soundwave is like holding up Cliffjumper, because Shockwave's been torturing him, and they're going to take him with them, and Optimus is like, we can't let that happen. So Carly gets in her van and jumps with it into Soundwave, freeing Cliffjumper temporarily and turning the tide of the battle in the Autobots' favor. So they're attacking, and then things are going well until Cliffjumper kind of gets tangled up with Devastator, and then Devastator just like fucking punts him, and Cliffjumper goes flying through the portal from Earth to Cybertron. And so once again, Cliffjumper is in the possession of Soundwave, who has also gone back through the portal. And Optimus is like, we can't let him get away again. So Optimus leaves all of his fellow Autobots on Earth to continue the fight, while Optimus and Elita One, who follows him, go through the portal to Cybertron. And this scene was awesome because it was like Shockwave's like holding Cliffjumper, like, don't make one move, Optimus, or he, and then it's like, BAM! Prime doesn't fucking hesitate, he just blah! And blasts Soundwave's arm right off so he can't shoot Cliffjumper, and Cliffjumper goes flying away. And then Optimus attacks Soundwave, and you see Optimus kind of lose it. He's on top of Shockwave on the ground, and he starts like crushing Shockwave's head until it fucking goes. It was awesome. It's like savage Optimus Prime. So then Elita One is like watching, and she approves, and she's like, welcome back to the war, Optimus. And then she reveals to him that she never set the charges to destroy the device or something. And she kind of blasts the portal so Optimus can't get back to Earth, because she's always been pissed off that Optimus abandoned them on Cybertron and has chosen this mission on Earth and instead of his home world. So Elita One's like, you're going to Cybertron, Prime. You need to help us. And Prime's like, no, I'm not. And he ends up blasting a hole in the station or whatever that they're in. And he starts plummeting back to Earth with, or sorry, they were on Cybertron. So he starts plummeting back to Earth with Cliffjumper, and I think Alita 1's coming as well. Well, in the meantime, also, while the portal got shut off, it severed like a little kind of sliver on one of the ends of Cybertron, and it's also plummeting to the Earth with them, this big piece of wreckage. And the last thing like Prime kind of sees is as he's kind of plummeting to Earth, as he sees how beautiful it is, and he's like, well, if I die, at least this is my last view, right? But then Beachcomber, who we know was tooling around Earth with Spike, ends up coming in on his cosmic surfboard and rescuing Prime, and Prime is like, Beachcomber? And that's kind of where it ends off. But in issue 13, this is kind of like a flashback from Starscream when he was young and innocent and not a Decepticon yet, and before he even had his name. So it shows Starscream, Jetfire, and actually this unknown bot I've never seen before named Genvo. So the three of them are like, oh, Jetfire, it's your last night on Cybertron, whatever, or it's our last night on Cybertron, let's go do something. So they end up going, tooling around Cybertron, having fun, racing around, and they end up going out to this open area where they see Omega Supreme's style of Transformer. They were called Sentinels, I believe. So they watch one of these things fly in above them, marveling at how big the thing is, and they're like, wave, and they're waving, and then the Sentinel waves back to them, and they're all jacked and whatever. And so they end up kind of going back into the city, and Jetfire's like, so long, fellas, and he flies off to wherever he's going. We know it's Earth from the cartoon. And Genvo kind of sees Starscream off to Starscream's residence, wherever he lives or whatever. And actually, Starscream, his name, Genvo and Jetfire keep calling Starscream Ulchtar. So that was his, I guess, first name or whatever. And just after Genvo drops Ulchtar off at his place, there's a ruckus, and Genvo is being chased and shot at along with somebody. I think, was it Soundwave or somebody? I can't remember. Maybe Shockwave. They're being chased and shot at, and like Ulchtar is like, oh, what's happening? And he kind of gets caught up in it, and Ulchtar witnesses Genvo get shot and run through and destroyed in front of his eyes, and he has this big trauma. And as Ulchtar is holding Genvo's body as he's dying, he says something about how you screamed at the stars and whatever. So then he dies, and then there's a weird kind of flashback within this flashback where we see Starscream or Ulchtar kind of laying down and being so sad about Genvo, and then we see Optimus Prime arrive on the scene. I think that's who is shooting at those Decepticons, and Starscream kind of goes to black, and then when he wakes up, his wreckage, just his top half of his torso and his head and stuff, is being retrieved by some sort of G.I. Joe team, characters I've never seen before, but they're in a HISS tank. So it kind of goes to this weird kind of thing that I don't know where it quite fits in. And then at the end of the issue, Starscream kind of comes to and is approached by Megatron, saying, "You want revenge on the killers of your friend? Then join the Decepticons." And Megatron convinces him to come with them, and Megatron asks him, "What's your name?" And he goes, "My name is Starscream." So we get to see Starscream before he was a prick, and then when he became a prick, and how he chose that name. So pretty cool issue, but just such a weird issue with that weird other little G.I. Joe themed flashback in the middle of the flashback. And just also how it fits into the series. Like, we had this big issue of action where Prime's, rescuing Cliffjumper and killing Shockwave, and then it goes to this weird issue where we see Starscream flashbacks. So I love it, but it's just kind of different, right? So now I can't wait to see what would they have in store for us for issue 14 next month. Can't wait. Okay, last up, as usual, G.I. Joe, and this was the biggest section of October's buys, 4 issues. First, starting with issue 4 and issue 5 of the Destro sub-series. As this one kicks off, Destro's presumed dead after that battle with Chameleon outside of his family little praying, or whatever the hell it is, where he goes to visit his ancestors. And so Tomax and Xamot, the evil twin brothers who were running that rival weapons company, they approach Destro's next surviving, I don't know, relative. I don't know exactly what he is to Destro, about buying the company from him now that this guy's in charge with Destro dead. And the guy's like, yeah, okay, whatever. And he takes their check, and then they give a demonstration of the bats, which end up actually destroying each other because they can't tell friend from foe. And Tomax and Xamot are like, what? We got had. Then it kind of flashes to Destro writing a letter to General Flag. Like earlier in this series, we saw Destro kind of turn himself in to General Flag. So we see him coming to that decision and writing the letter to General Flag about exactly what's going on, sort of thing. And then, oh my god, I kind of forget what happens after that. Oh yeah, and then Destro goes to this nightclub looking for Astoria Carlton Ritz, like a rich kind of famous girl. And he approaches her and they're talking whatever. She's like, oh, I just need to go powder my nose. And she tries to escape. Destro catches up to her. She is actually Chameleon, the girl that tried to kill him. So they have a bit of a scuffle, and then he kind of talks her into working with him, sort of thing. And after that, and she tells him in this process that her and some people had designed this, what Destro describes as the ultimate weapon, but she was wanting to use it to save the world. And it's actually an artificial intelligence, which she's like, oh, it could be watching us right now. The thing went off the rails, sort of thing. So Destro's like, interesting. And at the end of the issue, we see Tomax and Xamot, back to them, welcoming a visitor to their facility, and Cobra Commander ends up stepping out of the helicopter, and that's kind of how issue 4 ends off. Issue 5 is just a ton of action. We see Tomax and Xamot giving Cobra Commander initially a tour of their facilities and heading to like the main conference room or something, and they walk in and Destro's there and he's like, hello, gentlemen. And then all fucking hell breaks loose. It's just this kind of battle between Destro and Tomax and Xamot, who have so much animosity between each other due to their companies being at odds and what happened at the Darklonia weapons fair or whatever. So it's just a big slugfest for most of the rest of the issue. And in the end, Destro talks everybody down and says, you know what, we're fighting each other right now, but the only way forward is a united front in evil kind of thing. So why don't we just work together and combine forces and do it together, sort of thing. So there's this kind of truce between Destro, Cobra Commander, and the evil twin brothers, and they all come together into one sort of front under, obviously, what's going to be Cobra, sort of thing. And near the end of the issue, we see a few things happen. Or maybe just one thing. Maybe I'm getting confused. But we see Destro approach the rich girl again, Astoria Carlton Ritz. And they're having this nice time on this like rooftop patio somewhere where it's really nice. And we see them send up a nuke into space to blow up that satellite that controls the artificial intelligence that she created. And then after that, we see Destro's relative that took control of the company after Destro was thought dead and sell the company to Tomax and Xamot. Him and Destro meet at this place, and Destro is like, you fucked up. You got something coming. So he heats up a Destro mask and is like, here you go. You fucking fucked up. Boom. So he's like, no. So the legend, continuation of the Destro Metalhead saga continues, sort of thing, right? So then the last thing we see is some sort of object hurtling through space, and we see a Cobra operative go like, Cobra Commander, like there's something on our scopes tearing through the atmosphere that doesn't subscribe to anything here on Earth. It's made of some sort of almost organic material. And we see Cobra Commander be like, oh, Cybertron, are you sending me more gifts? Sort of thing. So there could be some Transformer involvement again coming up. We haven't seen any since, I think, Starscream in the initial Duke series, maybe. When they're trying to track down what exactly that plane was that Duke saw turn into a robot. And that's one of the things that Destro writes in that letter to General Flagg is like, I've seen this or read up on this Duke seeing this transforming airplane thing, and so he was kind of, he's got some sort of interest in that. We just we don't know exactly what happened there between Destro and General Flagg and what that was all about, but we got some hints to it in this episode. But unfortunately, the sub-series is over now, so we'll never truly know unless it comes out in some other issue somewhere along the line. Next up, the 5th and final issue of the Scarlet sub-series. So in this one, they had infiltrated that facility, Scarlet, Jinx, and Storm Shadow in the 2 different buildings, and came together and gained the weapon that was being hidden in the one building, the Sword of Life, which Storm Shadow retrieved. So it picks up right there after Storm Shadow has picked up the Sword of Life, and soon after, the operatives in those buildings they attacked that were fighting them off send a helicopter up, and it basically shoots a missile into the floor they're on and blows everything to Kingdom Come. So the 3 of them survive, but they're banged up, and they say, rendezvous point 3 in 3 hours, and the 3 of them kind of split up and get lost in the city and whatever. And Scarlet gets a disguise and meets up with Snowjob, who is in the vicinity ready to exfiltrate her from this mission. But Scarlet is like, no, I gotta see this through. If I don't bring Jinx back now, we'll lose her forever, sort of thing. So Scarlet meets back up with Storm Shadow and Jinx, and they head to the Arashikage headquarters, the dojo or clan headquarters, whatever it is. And Storm Shadow presents the Hardmaster with this Sword of Life, and the Hardmaster is amazed, and he's like, it's your time to lead, sort of thing, and he gives the sword back to Storm Shadow. And as the issue closes and the series closes, we see Scarlet going like, oh no, like I thought the Hardmaster was going to take the sword, but Storm Shadow got it instead. She's like, I don't see anything good coming of this, sort of thing, like kind of foreshadowing that Storm Shadow's going to be a fucking bad guy, right? So very, very cool sequence there. Last up, issue 310 of the regular ongoing series. A whole bunch of stuff happening in this issue. It starts off with Cobra Commander checking in on the plan, which the Cobra forces had managed to draw Serpentor's mutant cyborg things into the high school football field where they were going to destroy them. So that plan is going accordingly. But soon Zartan and the Baroness arrive on the scene, and Cobra Commander sees this on the scopes and is like, he radios the operative that's posing as Cobra Commander in his armor on the field and says, go get Zartan and Baroness right now, sort of thing. So then a big fight breaks out between Cobra's forces and Zartan and Baroness. And in the meantime, we see Dawn Moreno make a decision. They found that cop that killed her parents getting burnt up in that cop car, and instead of like letting the job finish or whatever, she decides to save him, and he's like, what? And then it flashes to Serpentor Khan, who's on Cobra Island, and he sees how the battle's going, and he's pissed off, so he's like, I'm going there myself. So he scrambles a bunch of fighters and takes off, and in the meantime, the Joe team that was on Cobra Island extracting the remains of the original Serpentor, I think it was, as well as Dr. Mindbender, are exfiltrating on a raft, and they get seen by Serpentor's forces who are leaving the island, and they get the raft blown up, and they're kind of floating adrift in the ocean at this point. So then back to the action, the Dreadnoks get involved, but Baroness gets banged up in the process. She gets shot in the shoulder. And Zartan's like, we got to get you to a hospital to fix you up. And they meet up with the Joe team, which is like Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, Jinx, and Scarlet. And they're like, can you help us? And they're like, yes, we'll help you get her to the hospital, sort of thing. But then more of Cobra's forces kind of interrupt them. And the cop that Dawn Moreno saved after he was such a prick to her parents and killed them, he turns on her and he's about to shoot her, but then he gets blown up in all the action, which is kind of a fitting end for that prick. So then we see Cobra Commander, just as the issue is closing off, we see Cobra Commander giving a go-ahead to Operation Avalanche, which was the plan they had to trap everybody in the football field and finish them off. So that plan gets enacted, and then right as the issue finishes off, we see Destro get word of what's going on in Springfield, and he goes, last panel's like, it's time to go to Springfield. So we've got Zartan and the Dreadnoks, we've got the Joes, we've got the Cobra mutants, we've got Serpentor Khan's cyborg mutants, and now we got Destro coming. So it's all these opposing forces kind of coming together in Springfield, and what's going to cause some sort of cataclysm, I'm sure. I can't wait. I don't know if we're going to get the conclusion of this Springfield battle in the next issue. I think it might play out over the next maybe 2, possibly 3 issues if it's going to be something nice and detailed and drawn out. But I can't wait to see how it all goes and who comes out as the victors in this, and if there's any ungodly alliances made along the way, and see if anybody gets killed or whatever happens, right? I can't wait. So can't wait to go to Heroes this weekend, I hope. Boom. Peace out.
Meow.